Steve Burns posted this, New Traders, Rich Traders. He posted this either on Twitter or X on his Facebook group. And I thought it was kind of cool. It's like successful trading is waiting and then entries and exits. So I thought that was kind of cool. And that's what trading like the hokey pokey is all about. Now, Tom Petty, which the slide, he's behind the slide. Just imagine he's saying the waiting is the hardest part, as he's sung before. And believe me, it is. Now, it's three forms of patience: the patience to wait for your pitch, the patience to wait for a setup to trigger, and the patience to wait for a position to move. So let's break those down. The patience to wait for your pitch is to let that market come to you. And I've done this presentation 1,000 times, but it's so good, and I didn't realize it was in these slides until earlier today when I was assembling them or finishing them up, whatever. And I often would ask in a webinar, like, how come this doctor who's a really good doctor, or this businessman who's a really good businessman, or this automatic transmission mechanic that's really good at what he does, or lawyer, why do these same people who strive for such perfection in their careers, and I'm guessing their life too, settle for such mediocrity in markets? One guy's a very successful doctor. He also invests in real estate, and he does amazingly well. He's not just buying crappy real estate. He's super selective, buying these homes that are on exclusive golf courses, and he makes a lot of money doing it through good economy and bad. So somehow, but very, very, very selective. And I was like, well, why would this guy take a mediocre trade? Or why do people who are very successful in life take such mediocre trades? And I asked this question just hypothetically, and what would the world be without hypothetical questions, said Mr. Wright, Stephen Wright, I think. And one day I got this fantastic email from one of my clients. I think I can answer the question about why highly trained and skilled professionals can't seem to get the chart reading / trading thing. I am a physician who specializes in psychiatry. Doctors, lawyers, and mechanics are trained to take whatever train wreck comes along. We're expected to do something immediately, regardless of the conditions and despite the negative outcomes of our action. One of my doctor friends who's also a client, he's like, this is what I'm facing today. And he had to operate on this woman's leg, which was black and swollen and nasty. And it's like, if I start to describe it, I'll start to gag, but it was bad, okay? And if he starts cutting on this woman's leg, cutting off all this infection and everything, there's a really good chance it's going to spread. And there's a really good chance she's going to lose a leg and possibly more, okay? If he does nothing, it's all but guaranteed she'd lose a leg and likely she would die. So it's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, but he had to do something. So, and I never heard back, but I'm guessing he saved her life, because he'd have told me if he didn't. It's pretty humble. It's like, doctors save life. They don't brag much about that. Anyway, as a physician, if you dwell too much on the potential negative outcomes, you will become a deer in the headlights and not be able to function. So we tend to minimize the negative aspects of situations. Amen. If I cut on this woman's leg, she could lose a leg. She could lose a life. But if I don't, she will die. I must operate on this woman. So waiting for the perfect pitch is not what we are trained to do. And the better the doctor, the lawyer, or automatic transmission mechanic you are, the more you have to take whatever train wreck comes along, and the more training you have to take these train wrecks. We have no training to prepare us for sitting on our hands and waiting. It is simply not part of the mindset. Dr. J. Amen, my sister from another mister. So the other thing would be patience to wait for a setup to trigger. So this one triggered fairly quickly, but day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and then finally it triggers. Now I think this might have been one of these stocks And thank God I had the Facebook group, because one of these stocks, I came in every day and I put my order in, nothing happened. I put my order in, nothing happened. Put my order in, nothing happened. And then one day I didn't bother and I wasn't even watching it because I'm thinking this thing's never going to trigger. And somebody in the Facebook group pointed out that it just triggered. And I'm like, oh crap. And I just knew I'd get to my charts and it'd be up 3 or 4 points. Luckily, it wasn't up too much from the entry, so I went ahead and took the trade. But I could have easily missed that trade, and it did turn into a pretty big winner. And this might have been the one, I don't know. But it was a buy on this day as a TKO, and then no trigger, no trigger, no trigger, no trigger, no trigger, no trigger, no trigger. And it just kind of bored you to death by chopping along. And then what happened? Bam, went up 60% in one day. So there's a lot of patience when it comes to trading. And then, of course, the patience to wait for a position to move. And this was a gold stock we got in back in 2019. And this thing triggered and just died out, but it went sideways. It didn't stop us out. So stick with the position as long as it moves in your as long as it moves in your favor, but as long as you're not stopped out, even if it's an extended sideways move. As I preach, you want perfection going into the trade. And that's why, again, all these decisions after the trigger, when people email me, that it's a whole different ball of wax at that point in time. You know everything going into the trade. You know that it's a perfect setup per your methodology. I mean, you've got acceleration, persistency, nice little textbook TKO here. Everything is there. But as soon as you step into the trade, you're stepping into the unknown. And that's a whole another psychological lesson that I've done quite often about everything's known, and then you have to be willing to step into the unknown as soon as you trigger in. But the way I look at it is, and I told somebody this once and it kind of clicked with them, in for a penny, in for a pound. Do not exit a trade unless you're stopped out. And there have been many, but there's been a few that I can remember, at least one, where the stock got bought out after this sideways kind of crap like this. And of course, I would say most of the clients probably missed out because it bored them to death and they got out of the way. And by the way, I don't want to come across like I'm perfect, but I will tell you this: having that trading service and me putting my plan out there for the world to see, or whoever's paying for it at least. And if you're not paying for it, may you nothing. I'm not going to say it. But anyway, by doing that, it forces me to follow my own plan. So I had a mic drop moment a while back. This was probably 5 years ago, I guess. Trading is so effing easy when I wait for the best setups, take them, and then follow my trading plan. I think I might write that down.